friends.
Hi.
We're recording in person. It's so weird.
Everyone's like, thank God.
You know, there's no guarantee this will turn out great, but we are in person. So
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome
to another week of Case File
with Kat
and Ashley.
Hi. Oh, and Kevin.
Yes, and Kevin. Oh, I didn't bring Kevin 2.0.
That's all right.
But yes, so we are recording in person for the first time in like 2 years? I don't know. It seems like a long time since we've recorded in person. So.
I think it has been.
It's been a while. It's been a while, you guys.
Almost exactly 2 years. Yeah, we are back. I supplied a generous amount of beer.
Yes.
So you want to talk about what you decided to drink?
So, Martin House, which is in the Fort Worth area, is one of my favorite breweries.
And I went there this weekend.
And they have so many beers that they release only in-house, or like you can only get if you go there. And so Kat brought me quite a few back. And I decided to start with it's called Lazy Sunday, which is the mango and orange mimosa inspired ale. It says it's an ale, but it is more like a sour, like a tart. Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it. And I know all of my team IPAers are going to be like, what?
It's really good. I really can't describe the flavor, but it's really, really good. I don't get like the mimosa part of it, but I get like a citrusy. It's really good. It's really good.
I thought that the amount of carbonation, I think, gave it that champagne-y kind of. Yeah, it's very juicy, but it has there's a kick to it. It's that
really
bite.
good. It's so good.
Yeah, it's
I just
really
kind of want to drink all of them right now, but I do have other things to do today. So,
she's got reservations, y'all. Reservations. I have nothing.
What are you? Your can art is so cool.
My can art is always cooler, but you have the coolest one over there, and we'll save it for next week.
Yeah.
So this one is actually called Wisdom in Display, also from Martin House, and this is a triple IPA. Only 10% ABV only. That's a lot, but I think for triple I was expecting, I don't know, like 15% or something, but it's delicious. The can art is gorgeous.
Yes,
and
we'll post pictures.
I highly recommend this one. If you're in the Fort Worth area, go get it.
For anyone who is thinking about the Lazy Sunday, it is also 10% APV.
Well, there you go. You're gonna have fun tonight.
Whoop, 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 whoop. So I'm gonna go on to the actual episode before we lose everyone.
This is why they listen.
Yeah, I know.
How's the new house How's the house coming along?
It's just one day at a time. It is still boxes and chaos and whatever else,
That's good.
But 25 years from now, I will unpack everything. I got the essentials ready, which is really just the kitchen stuff.
And so in 25 years, when we're still doing this podcast,
I will have unpacked the final box. Yes.
That's it.
And then it'll probably be time for me to move again. So, to like a retirement home. I don't know. But yes.
She's retiring at 50.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's
my goal.
Let's go ahead. It's been 4 whole minutes of them listening to us. So let's.
Well, that's actually pretty short compared to normal. But anyways, so my question of the week was, if you were in, I don't have it right in front of me, but it was something along like, if you were in trouble and the cast from the last show you watched was the ones to save you, would you be would you be okay?
Based on the last show I saw.
Based on the last show that you watched, would you be okay?
You know what? I'm going to say yes, because I watched The Tinder Swindler.
Oh.
And those ladies are
I haven't watched that yet.
Badass. So yes.
I haven't watched it yet.
Dude, that blows my mind. Yeah. It blows my mind. But those women, fucking, they did it. They did it.
The technical question was, you've been kidnapped. The characters from the last TV show you watched are trying to rescue you. Who is coming to save you? But I still like, would you be saved? So that's...
Would I be saved?
Awesome.
Yes, they would. Yes, they sleuthed that. Yeah, yes. And then all the journalists and everything. Yes. Yeah, I'd be saved.
My last show was Big Little Lies.
Oh, damn.
Have you watched that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm only in season 1, so don't...
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I think those ladies would most 1,000% save me, for sure. If you haven't watched Big Little Lies, oh, my God. I haven't seen season 2, but season 1 is so good. Yeah, so I can only imagine. But, yes. And we had some good answers. But, yeah, definitely, I feel like I would be good.
Awesome.
I feel like I'd be good.
Awesome.
So if you're unfamiliar with our question of the week, we post it we try to do it every Monday or Tuesday, and we read your answers at the end. And if you miss it, just still answer anyways, because we like to go back and read them because they're really good answers. Like, we enjoy it a lot.
Now we got to pull it up.
I shared it twice on our page, and I think it's on our Instagram, but I'll pull up the Instagram. But anyway, so there's two posts on our Facebook page where people may have been answering.
Cool.
So I didn't have trivia this week, but I did have a really cool fact. So I don't know who remembers, but a long time ago, I did an episode on the disappearance of Maura Murray.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like a crazy disappearance. So I was scrolling through TikTok, and I came across this account, and it was talking about her. And I was like, this person knows a lot about the case. But it turns out it's her sister.
Oh, wow.
And so Maura Murray's sister has a TikTok where she discusses the case, discusses evidence that hasn't been published. Like, she is really fighting to find out what happened to her sister, even all of this time later. And so she'll post videos, and she posts just updates and stuff. So if you want to follow her TikTok account and kind of, if you're interested in that case at all, it's literally just Maura Murray missing. And so I'll post it in the show notes.
Moira, like M-O-I.
Yeah.
Okay.
M-A-U-R-A is her first name, okay. Maura. And then the last name is M-U-R-R-A-Y.
Okay.
So it's her name with the word missing. Mm-hmm. And her sister does a lot of videos about what they know, what the facts are, what the evidence is, what the police missed, all kinds of stuff, trying to find her sister still, which is a great platform because there are so many people and so many TikTok investigators and stuff.
That's so great.
So I just thought it was really cool that I just happened to find that account, and it really is her sister. It is a legitimate account.
Can you give me I remember her name, but I don't remember the circumstances.
She was a college student, and she was driving somewhere, and they found her car wrecked in an embankment, and it still had liquor in it, and her license and all, and a couple of footprints, and then there was no other trace of her.
It's the handprint on the top of the...
No, there was not. There was just her stuff was in the car, and then at a later point they had cadaver dogs come out that led them to a house nearby, but they never the cadaver dogs pinpointed it a couple of times, and they never searched the house or whatever. But yeah, she's never been found. She just literally disappeared. They don't know why she was going that direction. They don't know why she would have liquor in the car. There's never been a trace of her since that day.
Wow.
And so there was just a lot of weird things happening around it. There was a lot of evidence that was kind of overlooked. A lot of weird things the police didn't investigate in her case.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, So her sister covers all of that, and it's a really cool, if you have TikTok, it's really, really cool and interesting to look, especially if you're interested in the case.
Yeah,
so I don't have technically trivia, but I felt like that was kind of a cool update on something we covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to go into my story. I know that you guys are going to be super fucking shocked, but I'm doing a disappearance case. They're my favorite kind. And honestly, I wasn't going to do one, but I was doing research on a different story. And this one just happened to pop up. I was listening to a podcast, and they started talking about this woman, and I heard the word Charleston, South Carolina. Well, if you've listened to our show for any amount of time, or you know me, you know that's where I came from and where I would go back to if I could go back to. So I love Charleston. And so the story takes place there. but it also has a tie to Houston. So I was like, it's just like fate. Like I have to do this story.
Kismet.
It just has to be done. And so I immediately started researching it to make sure I could even like have enough information because it is unsolved. But yes, so that's what I'm doing tonight. So.
All right.
Prepare yourselves for a disappearance. So tonight I'm talking about Brandy Renee Hanna. So Brandy was a 32-year-old waitress, and she was last seen on May 20th, 2005. So just a little background on Brandy. She was born November 16th, 1972. Her mother was Donna Parent. They never mentioned her father at all, so I'm assuming he wasn't in the picture. That's just an assumption. She was the oldest of 3 children and was the only daughter, which... So there were some sources she was the only daughter, but then in others it said that her sister was part of it. So I'm not sure if that was like her stepsister or her sister came after. I don't know. But she was the oldest of 3 children, so we'll just go with that. So she was often described as being shy, quiet. She had a very small circle of friends. When she was in high school, she joined the ROTC before deciding to get a waitress job. So when she wasn't working, she was at home. Like she didn't leave. Like she didn't go out with friends. Like she didn't enjoy like clubbing or any of those kind of things that, her friends did. She just didn't like any of that. She liked being at home. She was very much a private person. When she started waitressing, she did kind of start coming out of that show a little bit with her clients, or not clients, but like customers at the place she was working at. But she still just was very homebody-ish. Anyway, so in March,
not everybody can be like you, Ashley.
Yeah, right. In March 2005, Brandy had started working as a waitress at Alex's restaurant on Dorchester Road, where her mom was a manager. So I have passed by Alex's restaurant maybe 1,000 times in my life.
Get out.
And I never been there, but I've passed it. It's like, it's moved since then to a different location, but that location passed by it a million times. It's actually in a little area called Goose Creek. And it was opened in the 70s. It's very similar to, if you guys are familiar with what Kelly's Country Cooking is, it's basically like Southern type food, like biscuits and gravy, like they have country fried steak, stuff like that. It's very, very similar to what a Kelly's would be, or maybe like a Cracker Barrel. I think more people would probably be familiar with that. I don't know if Kelly's is just here.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, but anyways, it's just like a Southern type little restaurant.
Kentucky Fried Steak, mashed potatoes, okra.
So that's where she was a waitress. Her mom was a manager there. She loved working there. She loved her customers. Brandy had also been in a 6-year relationship with a man named Ray McAdams, and they had actually become engaged, but had broken up with him to date a man named Garland Zeke Linkford. Garland was actually a friend of Ray's. He lived with them because he left his wife and kids and was staying with Ray. Ray was trying to be a good friend. He was trying to lend a hand out, let him stay with them. I'm not sure if Brandy knew that he was separated from his wife and kids. I don't know if Brandy knew the situation because he was a friend of Ray's. And he was staying there.
She knew. I'm just saying she knew because, I mean, it's your partner. You say things like, oh, he's down on his luck or whatever.
So, of course, this made Ray extremely angry that he found out that his fiance and Garland had developed feelings for each other, and he kicked Garland out and told Brandy she could stay. He's like, you know what? I forgive you. You can stay. I really want you to stay. Like, he was in love with Brandy. He didn't want her to go, but he wanted Garland to go. But Brandy chose to leave, and in April of 2005, Brandy and Garland moved out into their own apartment, which was closer to the restaurant. So the apartment had like a month-to-month lease, and it was in a very bad neighborhood. I don't know how to describe how bad it was, but it was known for crime, for drugs. Like, it was not an area where you would want your daughter to be living by herself. It was just
the neighborhood. You've driven by the restaurant.
It's not a great neighborhood. It was a crime-ridden neighborhood. But Ray continuously tried to get Brandy back, telling her that, Garland was no good for her. And And at the end of the day, Donna, which was Brandy's mom, didn't like either one of them. She didn't like Garland, but she thought Ray was really bad for her daughter. She didn't like the way he talked about her. Like one time they were in the restaurant, and this was while Ray and Brandy were still dating. And Ray said to Donna, I could kill your daughter and get away with it. I could take her and make her disappear and you would never know. Yeah. They were still together at this time. He was upset about
who did
something.
it.
You think you know who did it?
I'm gonna stick by my answer. I bet. Wow. Who says that?
Especially while you're still in a relationship with the person in a public space.
Ever to their parent.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But he said it, and he was like, he meant it. She said that he like she felt that Brandy was afraid of Ray. And that she was afraid of leaving him, but then Garland kind of came in and like
gave her an easy out.
Yeah.
Kind of gave her an out.
Yeah, and so
I'm going to interrupt you for a second because I just got off the phone with Savannah's dad and mom, and the question of like, what could we have done? We saw some signs, but not like huge red flags. And that's, I think, the question that I'm sure her mother is sitting with, like, this person said something to me like that. And what do you do at that point? You want to have a relationship with your kid. But if the way that Savannah said it was like, you're discriminating against her husband. Like, if you're going to say bad things about the partner I'm with, then I'm going to cut you out of my life.
Yeah.
And that is like, wow. Like, what is the right thing to say? When do you say, that's it, we're taking you, you can't, like, they're adults.
And Donna had, told Brandy how she felt about both of the men, but she was young at the time.
Gosh.
She just...
How old was she again? I'm sorry.
She was 32, but she had been dating Ray for 6 years. Like, she fell in love with him when she was younger.
Yeah.
And so she just didn't want to hear what her mom had to say about it. Her mom really tried to stay out of it as much as she could, but you
want to have a relationship with your kid, so you watch.
She had bought like an extra phone for Brandy, so Brandy had like 2 phones, like, just trying to like, do whatever she could for her should something happen.
Oh my gosh.
But again, at the end of the day, your children are going to do what they think is best.
Like, she thought, for Savannah, she thought she had it handled. And I bet that's how Brandy saw it as well. Like, right. I'm good. I got this.
Well, she wasn't like, she was with Garland now, so she wasn't afraid of anything that was going to happen. Ray was still, she thought like she was in love with Ray. Like, she thought Ray loved her, like she wasn't like she didn't think he was going to kill her. She never once expressed that she thought Ray was going to harm her. She just didn't want to be in a relationship with him anymore.
I think coming to that realization is probably the hardest thing for anybody to do. Like, I love this person. This person loves me. At some point that we loved each other enough to get married, or to talk about getting married.
They were engaged.
And like, you think there's enough love there that actual physical harm shouldn't happen, and that just is probably a really hard thing to come.
Because there was never like, nothing ever said he had ever harmed her before. Like, he had just made that one-off comment, but her mom just had that mom feeling, I guess, that you guys get. I'm not a mother.
Yes,
but she said
yes,
she
you
just
are your mom.
Well, in the interview, in interviews and stuff, she said she just had a bad feeling that something was going to happen. But you can't a lot of, if you tell your daughter, I just have a feeling about it, you know what I mean? Like, she's not gonna really listen to that as much. But anyway, so let's just discuss Garland for a minute. So Garland and Brandy had been dating for a few months. He worked for his father's plumbing company, which also happened to be where Ray worked. But he wasn't working at the time that they moved in together. Brandy was literally paying for everything with her salary from the restaurant. And so Donna even had to help pay the deposit for the apartment. Even though she was against it, she wanted to help her daughter. And so Brandy was described as being head over heels for Garland. She was just infatuated. So he had told her at that point that they were living together that him and his wife were actually divorced. Plot twist, they were not divorced. They were just separated. They were just separated. And, so at this point, it's obvious he's not an upstanding guy. And In May of 2005, less than a month of moving in together, Garland, who I'm going to start referring to as Zeke because that's how every interview and everything else refers to him. So if you do any research, you're probably not going to see the name Garland. You're probably going to see the name Zeke. So he broke up with Brandy to go back to his wife and kids because they wanted to work together and they wanted to work it out. So, of course, this left Brandy living alone in this awful neighborhood. She was heartbroken because she had thought that he was divorced. She thought it was like, you know, like this was who she was going to be with. Like she had given up her other relationship, like her long-term relationship, her engagement, her house, everything to be with this man. And then he leaves. So she didn't have a car. She depended on others for rides. You know, Donna had really, really wanted Brandy to move back out of that area, to move home. And Brandy decided and told her that she wanted to take this time alone to reflect on what she wanted and to get her head straight. So she decided to stay in the apartment and live there on her own.
In this really not safe neighborhood, but it's close to work.
It's close to work. It was easy for her to get rides there, or she could, you know, walk there if she needed to. Like it was her own place, right? Like she didn't want to live at home. Like she wanted to be independent.
Especially in your 30s, the thought of moving home is tough.
And she didn't want to go back to Ray. So,
right.
So on the morning of Friday, May 20th, 2005, Brandy headed to work like she usually would. Her shift was from 7 a.m. until 2:30 p.m., but she ended up staying until around 3 p.m. There was a man named Andy Ragnall. He was a retired police officer, and he would drive people around for like side money, kind of like an Uber. He was a retired police officer, so this is how he just got a little bit of extra income.
Dude, that's awesome.
You know, and people trust him. He's a police officer. So he had actually given her a ride home, and he was the last person that they know of to have seen her alive.
Oh, no.
So Brandy spoke to her mother on the phone around 5:50 p.m., and then she later texted her friend Amy around 8 p.m., and they had made plans to hang out that night when Amy got off work because... So Brandy and Amy were going to go on this weekend beach trip. They were going to go away and do like a little vacation, and they needed to go shopping for bathing suits and all that stuff. So when Amy got off work, she was going to go and see Brandy, and I don't know where they were going to go shopping at 10:30 at night. I'm assuming like Walmart or something, but they were going to hang out and go shopping and discuss it and whatever. So around 10:19, the phone records showed the last text message from Brandy's phone was to Zeke. Shortly after 10:30, Amy showed up to Brandy's apartment, but was surprised when she didn't answer the door. The lights were turned off, but she could hear the TV inside. She tried calling Brandy's phone several times, and she could hear it ringing from inside the apartment. But she assumed that Brandy had just fallen asleep between the last time they talked and now. So she just left. She didn't think anything about it. Now they were supposed to go on their weekend trip, you know, shortly after this, but yeah, she was just like, she must have fallen asleep, so she left. So Donna had actually got a really bad feeling, and she started trying to call, like, without knowing that Amy had gone there and couldn't get a hold of Brandy, she had gotten a bad feeling. So she had started trying to call several times, didn't hear from her, tried calling the whole weekend. They were supposed to have a lunch together before she went on this trip, and she didn't show up to the lunch. So this sent Donna into like panic mode because they would talk every day. They were very close. They had a very, very close relationship. So not hearing from her was like a major red flag for her. And so she had actually gone by the apartment herself, but didn't see any signs of Brandy. She didn't have a key to the apartment, so she couldn't get in, but she didn't see anything.
Could she hear the TV on still?
It didn't say, but like she didn't notice anything like crazy, right? Like the door wasn't broken in. Like there was just no signs of Brandy. So the next day, on May 23rd, Donna began to get even more concerned after receiving a call from the restaurant that Brandy had not shown up for work that day, because Brandy was not the type to not show up. So she called the police. But of course, they were very hesitant to investigate a missing adult because they said there was no evidence of foul play. And basically, as an adult, you can go missing at any time. You don't have to talk to your family. You don't have to talk to your friends. You don't have to tell anybody where you're at. So as an adult, it's very hard to file a missing adult person's case. And the police, again, like I said, told her she's free to do what she wants. She's free to disappear if she wishes. Donna knew that she wouldn't have just disappeared. She knew that Brandy wouldn't just go. So
did she say, hey, by the way, her ex-fiance told me that she could be disappeared?
They just said she's an adult.
Oh my gosh.
And adults can do what adults want to do. So Donna then called Zeke, and they agreed to go to Brandy's apartment together because he still had a key to her apartment. She had asked Zeke to not go inside and to wait for her, but when she got there, Zeke was already in the apartment. He said the reason he had gone in without her is because if there was a body in there, he did not want Donna to have to see it. So that was his excuse for going in before Donna got there. So obviously there were no signs of Brandy. There was a cup of tea that Brandy had taken from work that previous Friday that was still sitting in the living room. Her blanket was still on the couch. All of her clothes were there. She had like a hidden money jar, and her mom knew where that was. And her mom said it was still there. She's like, there's no way she would just leave and not take her money with her. One of her cell phones was there, but it was charging on next to the bed. The only thing missing from the apartment outside of Brandy was the second cell phone.
The one that her mom gave her.
Yeah. But there were no signs of foul play. So there was nothing was messed up. Like there wasn't anything broken. There was absolutely nothing missing. It was just Brandy wasn't there and her cell phone was gone. But all of her her license, her apartment keys, her purse, her everything was there. So on May 27th, once again, Donna filed a missing persons report with the North Charleston Police Department, who now took the case and began an investigation. So the apartment where Brandy was living contacted Donna and told her, hey, this was a month-to-month lease. You've got to get this stuff out. So May 27th is when the missing file was report, and the apartment called her and told her she had to have all of that stuff out by June 1st. So if they wanted to investigate the apartment, if they wanted to fingerprint, if they wanted to do any kind of investigation with the apartment with the stuff there, they had to do it in those 3 days because the apartment was like, we want to rent it out to someone else. We don't care if she's missing. There's no guarantee she'll come back. It's month to month. You have to get her stuff out. And
couldn't they have paid the rent? But I mean,
the apartment basically was like, no, we're done. And so less than 5 days after her daughter disappeared and the investigation started, they were forced to pack up her apartment.
Oh my God.
So during the investigation, a customer at Alex's told police that Brandy had received a call on the restaurant's phone during her last shift and was reportedly upset and frightened of someone, but wouldn't tell them who it was. It was said later that the call was from Diana, who was Zeke's wife. But then in further investigations, it was determined the call actually came from Zeke's sister, who had called to threaten Brandy and tell her to stay away from Zeke. So she had gotten that threatening phone call from Zeke's sister. So another witness, which was a neighbor of Brandy's, another supposed witness. It is important that I say supposed. A neighbor of Brandy's told police they saw Brandy getting into a red pickup truck on the evening of May 20th, sometime between 9 and 9:30 p.m. The vehicle was described as a red truck with white stripes on the side and a white hockey mask strapped to the front. While that's a very specific description, here's the problem. Both of Brandy's ex-boyfriends, Ray and Zeke, drove a red truck with white stripes and hockey masks because that was the company truck for the plumbing company that they both worked at.
Oh.
So
it was a witness, but it doesn't clarify anything.
Yes, we'll use the term witness. We'll discuss that later.
Oh.
But a witness, yes, said a red truck with white stripes, which happens to be the same truck that they both drive. So both Ray and Zeke were brought in for questioning. They were both given a polygraph test, and they both passed. They both had alibis. They both had witnesses to their alibis, and Zeke told the police that he was supposed to meet Brandy. That he's like, yeah, I was supposed to meet her that night. I'm not going to lie about that, but I couldn't meet her because I had to work late. Hold on, I need a sip.
So she... Okay, go ahead. I had a question, but I know it's going to be clarified here in a second.
Yeah, if it's not clarified, just ask me later. Yeah. In August 2005, so this is months after she's gone missing.
Okay.
Brandy went missing in May.
Right.
It wasn't until August that officials began to search for her. Like, actual foot searches for her. So an official search began by the Community United Effort, which is also known as Q, the Center for Missing People, and then North Charleston Police Department was assisting. Cadaver dogs were brought in, and Brandy's family and friends were also there. Okay, so you remember when Ray said, I could kill your daughter, make her disappear. Okay, So now we have Zeke. So one other person was there. Of course, it was Zeke. And he asked the police officers if the cadaver dogs could smell Brandy, even if she was covered up. Which, of course, raised suspicion. And the authorities asked him to leave the premises, and he was not allowed to participate in any further searches or in the investigation.
Like, what if she's covered up with dirt?
His literal phrase was, could these cadaver dogs smell Brandy even if she was covered up? It didn't specify covered up by what. He just wanted to know if the cadaver dogs could smell her if she was covered up.
That's sus. Yeah.
Why the police did not find that a little bit more unusual and, like, I don't know, maybe investigate him a little bit more, I won't know, but... or why they didn't investigate Ray a little more after he made the comment, I could kill your daughter and make her disappear and nobody would ever know. I feel like both of these people should have been investigated way more than they were. But I'm not a police officer. I'm not an investigator. So that's just my personal opinion. The investigators really at this point had no other suspects. They had no leads. And
they did. They
had lots of leads. Okay, let me just in my official, non-official opinion, they had lots of leads and lots of suspects that they could have been looking at, but according to investigators, they had no suspects, no leads, no evidence.
Don't they want to close cases though? I mean, isn't that like a source of pride? Like, we solved a case.
Not just that, but her uncle was a police officer. You would think they would be like more willing to help a fellow police officer.
Yikes.
But the case would go hot and cold for the next 14 years. So Brandy's case was largely overshadowed by another famous missing person. Now, most of you are going to know who this missing person is, and it's Natalie Holloway. She literally went missing less than 10 days after Brandy went missing. So all the media, like, she went missing June 5th. So all of the media, all of the newspapers, all of the resources were kind of given to Natalie. The coverage had completely taken over. And the only reason the local newspaper posted anything about Brandy is because her mom specifically called the paper and told them how ashamed they should be about not running a story about a local missing person like that was such a case. And so they wrote like a little write-up about her, but it was nothing big. Everything else turned to Natalie. So that was a big issue in the investigation because she wasn't getting any media attention. Like I said, Natalie got it all. So in 2011, the investigators once again opened Brandy's case. And this time the search revealed something very interesting.
What year was this?
2011.
Okay.
6 years later. Yep. When I say this time a search revealed something interesting, this search should have been done when she originally went missing, but of course it was not done. The investigator found something in like the notes or whatever that made him do this search. There was a Navy base in North Charleston that was located near her apartment. It was an abandoned Navy base, which, was not searched initially. It was searched this time because it was an abandoned area. It was close to her apartment. It would make an ideal dumping site. And once they were there, the authorities uncovered a shoe that was very similar to one that Brandy was seen wearing on the day of her disappearance. It was consistent with the size and the design. Let me just say, this shoe sat there for 6 years undiscovered because they did not search this area, even though it was literally right next to her apartment complex. So they didn't find the shoe for 6 years. It's amazing that it was even still there.
Oh my God, that's such bullshit.
And they could determine that the shoe was there before because the manufacturer date on it was prior to 2005. And it literally matched her shoe. Anyways, so it was tested for DNA, but there was at this point, no human biological evidence on it. So they could not confirm if it was actually hers or not, even though physically her mom was like, that's her shoe. In 2006, Ray McAdams died from a heart attack. So that left the case with one less suspect. The case went cold again. And it wasn't until 2016 when the case was even reopened. Even though in 2011 they did the search, they found the shoe, it went nowhere. So it wasn't until 5 years later that they started looking into it again. And the only reason they started looking into it again is because of Zeke. So in December 2016,
oh my God,
Zeke was in custody on an unrelated charge. He was accused of sexually assaulting a 7-year-old girl. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I stand corrected, I think. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
While in custody, he was charged with obstruction of justice after police discovered major inconsistencies in the statements he gave to the police back in 2005 involving Brandy's case. Let me read that again. Major inconsistencies in a statement he gave in 2005. You're telling me it took you until 2016.
How many years, sir?
To follow up.
We can do math. That is crazy.
They never followed up on his alibi.
So
they never fact checked him. Ever. Not once. They did not fact check anything he said in his statement that night. Or Ray's for that matter. But yeah.
How do these police officers still have jobs?
So in the inconsistencies, originally Zeke had told the police he was supposed to meet her, but he had to work late. In 2016, the police discovered that his timesheet for that night showed he actually got off work at 4 p.m. that day. How hard would that have been to check in 2005? I guess very hard, but in 2016, they discovered he actually got off at work 4 p.m. that day. The phone records show, which I don't understand why the phone records were not checked in 2005, but the phone records show he had talked to Brandy from 5:08 p.m. to 5:36 p.m. the day she went missing, which he also lied about because he said he hadn't talked to her for the rest of the evening. He also gave misleading information regarding phone calls he made after her disappearance. Zeke admitted that he may have met Brandy at her house on the night of May 20th, then went on to alter his original statement. And he told police investigators that he did actually visit Brandy's apartment and spent time with her hours before she disappeared. He then also admitted to being the source of the anonymous tip calls to the North Charleston City Hall and Police Department, in which these phone calls were the ones where he tried to implicate Ray McAdams by pretending to be a neighbor who witnessed Ray McAdams pull up in a truck and witnessed Brandy getting into it that evening. So
a truck that looks exactly like his truck.
So
he's dumb.
He was the actual witness.
Oh my gosh.
That they had or claimed to have. He was the one doing that. He was trying to implicate Ray McAdams.
Oh my gosh.
So Zeke pled guilty to obstruction of justice charges in December of 2018. And was sentenced to 2 years in jail and 2 years of probation. He was not charged with the murder because they could not verify that he murdered her because no body, no crime.
Do you think that maybe his wife did it? Followed him to Brandy's apartment or his sister? And he's protecting them by...
I mean, it's a possibility, but he also was arrested for molesting a 7-year-old girl and lying and doing so. I'm not really sure.
Murder is a different thing, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. And nothing ever implicated it was his wife or sister other than the phone call that she got.
Where this is just awful. This is awful.
So the father of Ray, the original boyfriend, Ray McAdams, the father had told investigators in December 2016 that he had been given information that Brandy was sold to drug dealers in Houston to pay off Zeke's drug debt. Investigators found no credible information that suggests that that was true, but they wanted to investigate like any tip that came in about her. But they did investigate it. So at this point, Ray's father was trying to point blame at Zeke after Zeke tried to frame Ray. So it was just a big mess. On October 26, 2013, Brandy had been legally declared dead. The investigators at this point believe that Brandy, at this point in time, the investigators believe that Brandy was a victim of homicide and they treat the case as such so that she was murdered. But even with Zeke's semi-confession, due to lack of any physical evidence, witness, or leads, the case is considered unsolved. They've never found her body. They've never found anything else. They probably didn't. I'm basing on the other stuff in this case. They didn't fingerprint her apartment. They didn't probably look at her phone records. Like, who knows? So
they do know that Zeke was text messaging with him or with her.
Yes, based on his phone records.
Oh.
That they looked at in 2016 and
for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So Brandy's story was on an episode of Disappear, which is what I mentioned. So the actual TV episode is season 7, episode 9. It's called Love Triangle. So Brandy is described as a white Caucasian female, sandy blonde hair with blue eyes, upper teeth that are crooked. She has a gap between her upper front teeth. She is 5'9" and weighed 115 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She has
very tall and tiny.
Yes. She had 3 piercings in her left ear, 2 in her right. She has a tattoo of the sun on her right shoulder, a heart between her thumb and forefinger on her right hand. She was wearing, the day that she went missing, she was wearing a light blue shirt with blue jeans, a pair of size 10 Nike sneakers, one of them which was on the beach. And she had a diamond ring that made up the shape of a flower that she never went out without wearing. So the case is still opened. It is just unsolved. So if you by chance have any information regarding Brandy or the disappearance or any of that, you can contact the North Charleston Police Department, which is in South Carolina, because they will still investigate it. It's still an open case. It's just a cold case. As they said, they're treating it now as a murder case. But they, to this day, have no idea what he may have done with the body. He never said anything. I mean, but Charleston is, well, let me back up. So the Navy base, basically the water area became infested with alligators. So it's possible her body got eaten. It is located right on the ocean. So, I mean, it would not be hard to get rid of a body. It's just very unfortunate because to this day, Zeke has never admitted to actually murdering her. So, of course, he's not going to tell him where her body might be.
Where is he now?
Well, as far as I know, he is free because he only had 2 years of jail and I will say he was being charged for the sexual abuse of the girl, but I don't know like if he had to serve any significant jail time.
They don't normally. Oh my gosh.
So that's my story on Brandy. They assume it was Zeke. They assume he murdered her. It didn't really give an explanation on why he would murder her because he had gone back to his wife and kids.
Right.
But that's really the only lead they have because they did meet up. They did hang out. He lied about it. He tried to frame Ray McAdams for it. So he's obviously like, why would you try to frame somebody if you weren't guilty? Like, what is the purpose? And he just lied about so many things. And it was clear he wasn't an upstanding citizen. I mean, he sexually molested a 7-year-old child. And so they just at this point assume she was murdered. So.
Wow. It seems like he went back to a meal ticket, his wife. I think it seems like she was maybe taking care of him as well, made a little bit more money. And Brandy may have been trying to get him to come back. And that was causing
maybe just Brandy existing was causing problems with his wife.
Exactly.
Like, because she knew that they had a thing. There was really, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to go on because you can't interview Brandy, and the investigators did such a crap job of the actual investigation, and the apartment had to be cleaned out less than 5 days after the missing case report. So there's just so much that, and then the witnesses were all lies because it was all Zeke pretending to be the witness.
And so the that's crazy. And so did they interview his wife?
Not because, anything I read.
That's the.
I watched the episode. I listened to the podcast about it, like the Disappear podcast, because they have one that goes along with the show. And I read like 7 or 8 different articles, news articles, and everything, and nothing mentioned Zeke's wife, other than the fact that he went back to her. There may be some information about it, but I couldn't find it. I didn't see it. Most of it talks about him just trying to frame someone else for it. So yeah,
I feel so bad for the parents of missing people.
Donna she still fights for it to this day. She still searches for her daughter. They put up flyers. They've, I believe there was a billboard. She's still like, she never gave up looking for her daughter.
Wow. God. That makes me sad for her because she has to share a city with Zeke.
Yes.
And his wife. Yes. And sister. Okay. So
after you read the Facebook ones, I will read the Instagram, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 answers on Instagram.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, it's loading and I don't know what's happening.
Do you need me to read them?
Yep, I've got it right. Cha. Okay, so the ones that came in today, the answers were Sons of Anarchy. That comes from Angela. I think you're saved, Angela. Sons of Anarchy. Glenn says, only fools and horses. Glenn. He's a top fan. I don't know if you knew that. Says, only fools and horses. Dell, Rodney, and Granddad would sort it out. Laura says, Pat Sajak and Vanna White. You're dead, girl.
Unless it involves a vow.
Laura, you in danger, girl. Okay. All right. Mary says, I think it could go either way for me. I watched Euphoria last night. Oh, you're dead. Mm-hmm. Main characters are Rue and Jules. If Rue is high on pills, then I could be screwed. Yeah.
I think you stand no chance. I love that show, and I don't think that cast could save anybody. Can't save
you're
themselves.
A dead woman. Okay. Sarah, she says, oh Lord, I am doomed. It's Jesse, Kelvin, and Judy from Righteous Gemstones.
So, side note, Righteous Gemstones is also filmed in Charleston, South Carolina.
Ooh.
They used the mall, our old mall that's there. They used a lot of the scenes are filmed in the mall and then like the surrounding areas. I love that show. Yeah.
Noelle says, I'm screwed. I watched The Nanny last night.
Oh my God, I forgot about that show.
The Nanny. Oh yeah. That voice. RC says, The Birds from Ozarks. Hell yeah.
Oh,
you're saved.
Oh, 1,000%.
You're saved.
If I wanted anyone to save me, I think that would be anyone from Ozark.
In a calm, cool, and they will eat you alive manner. Absolutely. Yes. Oh my gosh. I can't wait for part 2.
Oh my gosh. I wish that show never ended.
I know. Well, it's Jason Bateman too, because like that's my man. That's my main man.
I don't know who this is, but their name is Mystery 8538. It says Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan. Okay, well, I think you're safe.
That's the documentary we just watched. The kids love that documentary. Yeah, it was really good.
So I assume you're safe. I haven't watched the documentary.
So safe.
Deanne says Lieutenant Joe Kinda, I would be safe. Oh my God, yes. Have you ever watched him?
No.
So he is I believe he's a retired investigator, so there's a TV show where it recounts all of his famous cases, because he was like one of the most successful homicide investigators. Like he solved cases a lot. And so he has a TV show where he solves like cases all around Colorado and stuff. But anyways, it says, I would be safe. He solves all the cases in Colorado Springs. I was surprised he didn't come to greet me personally when I stopped in his town. But he's like an older gentleman. I'm pretty sure he's retired now. But the show, it recounts his most memorable cases, and he really goes through it, and you can tell he really cared about his job.
Wow.
He really cared about solving them and the victims, you know?
Wow.
And so it's a really good show. And yeah,
What's it called?
I don't remember the name of it. I think it's just his name. I think his name's in it, you know?
Okay.
I can look it up for you afterwards, but it's a really, really good show. And then my brother, George, says East Company from Band of Brothers. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good. I mean, it's good.
I haven't really heard anyone other than the Vanna White one that might be a little...
Euphoria.
Oh, yeah. Janet says Harry Potter. Does that count? It's not TV, but it was on USA. Yes.
Yes, it counts.
Yes, and I would assume they would just get you right out of there.
Spell you out.
Yes.
Some kind of something. What's your Patronus? It's really, what's your house? What's your Patronus? Yeah. I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about that stuff. I was trying to figure out, like, I need to take a test. I need to take a test to find out what my house is. I'm going to guess it's Gryffindor, but I know nothing.
So to answer your earlier question, it's called Homicide Hunter Lieutenant Joe Kendo. So it's literally just like his name. But yes, so it's on the ID channel, of course, and it's really good. If you guys like those kind of cases.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I know it wasn't a very long story, but I just thought it was really interesting because they did such a bad job investigating, but it was my home, I consider it my hometown. And then like it also had Houston. And the fact that the restaurant is still there today. And I cannot believe like that they just didn't investigate they had so much right in front of them that they could have done in 2005 and they just didn't. So that's probably their investigation, and the fact that Natalie Holloway went missing right around the same time probably just never gave Brandy a chance. Honestly, her case was never going to stand a chance.
I hate that so much. Well, we're back in person.
Yes.
So I think that's cause for celebration.
Yes, always.
But next week I'll have a story. And I know that I'm going to do one that centers around Houston. Sorry, folks. But it's like, it occurred to me, it's like, I really need to do this story. I can't believe we haven't done it yet. So
I'm excited.
I'm going to do it. But yeah.
I promise not to do a disappearance case next time.
Oh my gosh.
I love them. They're so exciting to me. They're like, I'm so fascinated by them because like, how do you just disappear? And like, some of these killers are not smart, right? So like, how did they hide a body so well? Like it was never found.
Because people didn't look for them.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true.
That's why. It's not that they're smart. Yeah. It's not that they're smart. Yeah. It's just that there was some bad police work.
You can, just some side notes if you're still listening. You can leave us voicemails on our website, which is catandashley.com. You can leave us reviews everywhere, which would be appreciated. Share us with your friends. If you have story ideas, you can message them. We always cover them pretty much. I don't think there's ever been a story suggestion that we haven't covered at some point. Question of the week. Send them our way if you don't like them. Beer suggestions, or if you just want to buy us beer, we'll take that too. So...
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, until next week, we will see you. So be safe, be kind, please, and don't murder people. I think that's like our big takeaway from today. Don't disappear people. Don't murder people. All those things. All right. We'll see you later. Bye.